So before I continue reading everyone's rough draft, I wanted to go ahead and point out some things that I've noticed so that people can go ahead and take care of these in their essays so that I can give more meaningful feedback. So the first thing is remember to capitalize all proper nouns. If it's a country name, if you're saying Gilded Age, if it's a person's name, all of that has to be capitalized. Make sure you use spell check. Okay, this seems obvious, but several people haven't done that yet. And maybe you're waiting until the end, but I just want to remind you to make sure you do that before you submit your final. If you are using information from one of the provided sources, as you should be, then you refer to that source in your writing. For example, in the article on child labor today, it states, or the article refers to, or something like that. Don't use the term I, you, or we in your sentences. When you write a formal essay or an information text essay, you don't use these terms. And I'm going to show you a way you can fix that. Make sure you're using past tense verbs when discussing past events. Okay, so that seems pretty obvious, but I'm seeing it a lot. And that's okay. It's normal for people your age to do that, but you just need to have that mindset. You're discussing past events with the Gilded Age child labor, so you need to make sure that you are using the correct verb tense there. Make sure you're answering both parts of the question. So it's a two-part question. Question 1 should be answered in body paragraph 1, and question 2 should be answered in body paragraph 2. Don't use slang. Now, the most obvious place that this is going to happen, or the most obvious use of it, is going to come from kids. Kids are baby goats. You need to refer to them as children. They are children. And then finally, thesis statements are too long. So I'm going to show you two different things here to solve some issues for you. The first one is, this is a sentence from someone's essay. It's not a bad sentence. This person actually did a really good job in the remainder of the sentence of connecting a current source to justify their fact. They did a great job with it. What they did not do correctly is they used I. So instead of saying I read from child labor around the world that, you're going to replace that with, in the article child labor around the world, it states that blah, 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 blah. You just need to get rid of I read. All right, thesis statement is literally what it says. It is one statement. It is not a paragraph. It is not two sentences. It should be a well-written statement. And it's going to come from your essay questions. So the example I'm going to give you is, if I was assigned to write an essay for how did the American Revolution impact individual groups of people, that's going to drive my paper. And so I'm going to write a thesis statement that would support that and would set me up to write a paper detailing how the Revolutionary War impacted individual groups. Now, I could even be more specific, and I could make it people in the home front if I wanted to, but based on what I've been given, my thesis statement, and it's always the last sentence of your opening paragraph, is going to be, the experiences of the people who achieved this dream of a free and united country was filled with hardship and peril. I've answered this question in that it says, how did it impact individual groups? It was filled with hardship and peril. Now, as I write my essay, each of my body paragraphs in a 3 body paragraph essay would be a different group of people. Perhaps I discuss women and how they're impacted. Perhaps I would discuss Native Americans and how they're impacted, and maybe I discuss soldiers and how they're impacted, or children and how they're impacted. I'm going to answer that question by saying that it was hard, their life was hard, and there was a lot of peril or danger. But in my body paragraphs, I'm going to give examples of how their life had those hardships and was perilous. And then I'm going to write my closing paragraph. Now, I want to remind you that you cannot have in conclusion, to conclude, to close the paragraph. As you can see, none of that. You just need to write like it's a fact. You could even begin again with your thesis statement. You may have to alter it a little bit to make it flow better. And in this case, that thesis statement would become the first sentence of your paragraph. But basically, your last paragraph should summarize what you wrote about.